So John, what happens to a vSAN cluster if I lost power in my data center?
So you've lost power in the data center, generally caused by human error. I wasn't paying attention and plugged too many things in. I thought that the 17 amp breaker was just a suggestion. Okay, so we've lost power to the rack, or maybe someone rebooted the wrong hosts in the in the data center. Um, okay, the cluster's offline. Well, I power things back on. Power's restored. Will the host auto reboot? That's going to be determined on what you've set in the BIOS on that host. I encourage people generally to say on uncontrolled power loss, automatically restart things, but that's a personal choice. Um, do I lose data? What if there were writes in flight? What if I was in the middle of writes? This is often kind of the follow-up question here. And the answer is no, you do not lose data. How vSAN operates is we do not acknowledge the write and consider it concluded until we have written, for instance, with RAID 1, both copies of that data. With RAID 5, we've updated the entire stripe. We wait on those acknowledgments. And in the case of power loss, that data, if we look at how SSDs work, they have their own internal write buffers. But vSAN, if you look at the HCL, if you look at the vSAN compatibility list, the VCG, we only certify devices that have capacitors that basically make sure they can flush those internal write buffers. So all writes are what we would call atomic, end to end. They're guaranteed. I've had a vSAN lab that was powered off all the time, sometimes as a demo, sometimes as just, we would forget that they were cutting power to the building that weekend. I never lost data. The only case of concern for this is if someone didn't use supported devices, they use consumer class SSDs. If you use the kind of stuff you'd use in a laptop, those, by the way, will not survive power loss. And that's because they're designed to draw on the laptop battery, or they're not designed for RAID usage. They're designed for a journal desktop file system, are okay with a little bit of file loss. But for enterprise use cases, vSAN only certifies enterprise class devices. We also do not use RAID controllers with volatile write buffers. Some of you in the past may have had RAID controllers that had a battery that had to be swapped, and that battery might only have 3 days or 2 days or 4 hours if you'd forgotten to change it of battery life before a little DRAM buffer would be lost and not committed. We don't want or need write buffers on RAID controllers to be used, and for SAS and SATA drives that are still used, we recommend just pass-through HBAs, and for the handful of RAID controllers that were ever certified, we recommended bypassing and disabling that cache. Note more modern ones would use capacitors, but that's the answer. I know there's sometimes some fear and uncertainty or doubt that, I'm going to lose data because this is a distributed system, but I promise this is not one that plays fast and loose with what we determined to be a committed write.
Now, this sounds like the biggest and best endorsement of the VCG I can think of in terms of using the storage devices that we recommend.
Correct.